Hey guys, I'm Liam Norval and this is Posh Cockney TV and this is our brand new show, London After Lockdown. I'm going to take you on a tour around London to meet some of the biggest names in the hospitality industry, and they're going to tell us how they've adapted since lockdown's been lifted. On this episode, I head over to Chelsea to meet Matthew Maynard at the Bluebird Cafe. I catch up with Pete Warden from LXA and speak to an old friend, Jennifer Cochrane, who has a new company called Getahead. It's another beautiful day in London, so I headed over to Chelsea to meet Matthew Maynard, who's the general manager of Bluebird Cafe, because I've been hearing great things since they reopened. Matthew, how are you? Thanks for coming on PCTV.
I'm very well, thank you.
Has life treated you well since lockdown's been lifted?
It has. I have to say we're pleasantly surprised. We've been very busy, frankly, since day one.
Great. And has there been queues out the door?
There has been queues out the door and down the road.
Wow.
Of course, socially distanced.
Yeah.
But the terrace, given the weather, has been incredibly popular.
I mean, it's such a popular restaurant anyway, and then you've got all these other rooms as well. We spoke off camera about the events. That's quite a big part of your business, and you're planning to book some more in August. You tell me.
Yeah, at the minute our event rooms are empty, but bookings are coming in. There is definitely interest, and of course, subject to guidelines, we hope to get that fired up again relatively soon.
What exciting projects has Bluebird got in store for customers in 2020?
Well, I think our terrace collaboration with Night is going to be great. We've got an installation there which should look really great once that's done.
Yeah.
Upstairs, we're hoping to, when we're allowed, to get some live music in our bar,
Yeah.
which we haven't done before.
So, Bluebird's part of D&D. Tell me about the rest of the group. How have they been affected, and what's open, what's not open?
Well, I think we've been fortunate. I think we are ultimately a neighbourhood restaurant, and it is the local neighbourhood places that seem to be doing really well. And the places in the city remain really quite affected. We've got Cockney in Bank and Madison in St Paul's, and they really haven't seen the same levels of business that they're used to, unlike us.
Yep. Yeah, Cockney is one of my favourite places in the city, and Madison's as well. It's a beautiful day in London, so places with outdoor spaces are really popular right now, aren't they? Especially with the social distancing and people going out and having trust that they're going to be safe. That's for sure,
and I think people definitely do feel safer outside. But saying that, there's still demand for the restaurant and bar that we're in now upstairs, so we're very happy with that. But ultimately, of course, the outdoor rooftops and outdoor terraces are doing very, very well.
If I was coming in today to eat, what measures would I expect to see that you guys have implemented?
So here at Bluebird, you get your temperature checked before you enter the building. All of our own staff are in masks or visors. We pre-pack all your cutlery and napkins that you're going to use into a sealed envelope, so no one has touched that before you eat. And also we've got sanitising stations throughout the building for you to use at your leisure.
It sounds like you're on top of it, and it's obvious by how busy you've been that people are being really receptive to that, and hence why you're so busy.
Yeah, I think the perception is great, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons that we are doing so well, is that we are taking things very seriously. And I'm not sure that's the case everywhere else. So, and we have seen on our reviews from guests that they do feel safe, and they're very impressed with the measures we've taken. And so we'll continue to do that.
I'm interested to know your opinion on what you think is the future of hospitality.
I do think the face of hospitality is going to be very different, and I do worry for central London, because I'm not sure how the offices will come back. And I certainly don't think they'll come back in the capacities that they once were. You can already see the West End of the city remain very, very quiet. So I think you'll see larger groups such as ours branching out outside of London, which will be great for your local neighbourhoods. I think you'll see a better quality of restaurant closer to home. And
is D&D planning to expand?
We certainly were prior to lockdown,
yeah.
And I think we still will. Our owner always has a very positive attitude, so we have a restaurant in Bristol coming up, and I'm fairly sure that's still going ahead. So I'm positive, and I think ultimately people want to eat and dine out, and I don't see that's going to change at all.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
It's time to meet Pete Warden over at Happy in Piccadilly, and we're going to also talk about Bosporus, which is about to open next month.
I'm delighted to have my friend Pete Warden on Posh Cockney TV. Pete, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Liam. Very well. Yeah, good to be here with you. Back in central London, back in restaurants, slowly clawing back normality of life.
We've spoke many times on the phone, and we've sort of longed for this moment, haven't we? Where hospitality is sort of coming back into play, and we work on many projects together. As Happy, we opened this one. What was it? February this year.
February 17th. Yeah.
And we had a phenomenal start. It was queues around the door. I think 2,000 people through on the weekends, and suddenly it went to a stop.
Yeah.
And how did that affect you personally? Because you put a lot of time into this place, and.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very successful opening, as you said. I mean, I've done a lot of restaurant openings over the years, but never have I opened the doors to a restaurant and been full within an hour and on a queue and a wait list straight away, which is incredible. I mean, obviously we'd always want to start a little bit slowly, but being where we are in the West End and looking as great as it does, that just wasn't an option. People wanted to come in, wanted to be a part of it, and 3 weeks of madness, doing incredible revenues. As you said, queues out the door, a couple of thousand covers a day on the weekends, fantastic feedback. We were very advantageous that we had a lot of very well-trained staff. Obviously, the brand Happy, it initiated it from Bulgaria. They also have restaurants in Spain and other parts of Europe now as well, but they were able to bring over some of the team from Bulgaria, and we really got the best of the best. So it was a big help that they were already very used to the volume and used to the training. So that was good. But to answer the question, I mean, it was pretty devastating, not just for me, but the whole team. I mean, the effort that have gone in to this restaurant. Obviously, it's a massive 12,000 square foot central London restaurant. A huge building program went on for 8-9 months, and we spent probably 18 months in total in terms of concept and repositioning what works incredibly well in Bulgaria to what's going to work very, very, very well in the West End of London. And I'm happy to say we did a pretty good job, and it was being incredibly well received. And then, obviously the nastiness that is COVID got hold of London and the rest of the world, and everything had to stop, and we had to close down the restaurant and put everything to sleep for the last 4 months. But upsetting, but obviously we all move forward. Everybody's been through a lot worse in certain areas. Obviously it is just a restaurant, it is just bricks and mortar and wood, and I'm happy to say that everybody's safe and well, and now obviously we're looking forward to getting reopened.
So you're hospitality director of LXA as well, and I know that you are very busy at the moment. There are lots of new projects happening, so people should be inspired by hospitality actually maybe making a nice little growth in the market. Definitely.
I mean, obviously you hear the doom and gloom all day, every day in the press, and that's what they're good at. They don't talk about the good things because they think it's not going to sell. But we're actually getting really busy now. Obviously, we're reopening our existing estate of restaurants that we're involved with, but we're getting inquiries every week for new and different things. Some are just normal restaurant concepts. Others are people trying to think a little bit outside the box, take advantage of the opportunities. Obviously, those that are in the advantageous situation where they can move and do deals now are going to find some amazing deals out there. Sadly, those deals are created because some venues have had to shut, and obviously some good venues might not make through this, which is sad, but also some concepts that have probably run their course and it was the end of their journey anyway, have been nudged out, and that's going to give some good real estate for people to take some good sites, some good opportunities. Landlords obviously have to be a bit more flexible in terms of the deals, and so if people are in a situation where they're funded or in a place where they can allocate the funds to look at a new project, then it's a good time to do that. And obviously that's what we do at LXA. We are project people, whether it's the interior design part, whether it's the branding part, whether it's the project management part, or whether it's myself looking after the hospitality. So we're working with either new people creating something or existing brands that need help developing. As new things move forward, that keeps us super busy. So
what do you make of London right now? We've walked the streets together, and it's not as busy obviously as expected, but I think there's hope, don't you think? I think there's definitely going to be, I think people are trusting to come out a bit more. There's lots of good measures from lots of venues. What are you seeing?
Well, I've been in quite a unique situation where I've seen the whole of lockdown in central London, because we've had restaurants here that needed to be checked up on. I've been pretty much from week 2 or 3 of lockdown, I've been popping in and out and having a look and making sure everything's good. So I've seen it when there was literally nobody here, and I've certainly been here a lot in the last month or so when things have started to reopen. So hope is a good word. encouraging, definitely. Parts of Soho are absolutely rocking. Obviously, the fact that they've pedestrianised the streets in the evenings there has really made a massive difference. It's like a little mini party atmosphere pretty much every single day. The weather's been mostly good as well, which has helped. Quite funny yesterday, unfortunately, when it was really sunny one minute and raining a lot the next, and people had to run for cover. But on the whole, we've been blessed with the weather, and it's slowly building the confidence of the people. Obviously, tourists are a big missing part of the puzzle at the moment. So there's Londoners out in central London. The tourists are starting to come back now. I think I'd say 5 to 10% a week increments. I'm seeing more people on the tubes. I'm seeing more families out and about. I'm seeing more people sightseeing Leicester Square, Covent Garden, Piccadilly, that really rely, 80% of their trade comes from tourism, are slowly edging back that way. And obviously, I think that will continue over the course of the summer now. We'll see more and more and more. Office workers, again, obviously is a big part of the pie in terms of London business, and that's been fairly slow in coming back so far. But again, I think will slowly trickle in now. Obviously, the advice is go to work if you can. People are starting to do that. I think September we'll see a big change in that. Obviously, when the schools then do go back in September, the parents are free to actually return to the offices. So I think a lot of people will. Obviously, who knows how many percentage that will be and how quickly it will all come back to normality and pre-COVID, if it ever will. But I think we'll see a big uplift in tourism numbers in the next month or two, and then office workers from September onwards, which is just it's needed. Obviously, there's so many restaurants, and especially when you have big places like this, you need to take from all areas, partly from the Londoners, partly from the tourism, partly from the office workers. Obviously, we are going to see a lot of staycations, which is a help. Now is the perfect time to visit London. If you want to go sightseeing, if you want to see the Thames, you want to go to the parks, they're nowhere near as busy as they would normally be, especially this time of year. So if you do want to miss the crowds but still see the best of London, now is the perfect time for people to come and enjoy London. So I'd certainly recommend that. But yeah, time will tell, but I think we're certainly heading in the right direction.
What do you think of the scheme by Rishi Sunak for the Eat Out to Help Out?
I think it's fantastic. Obviously, a lot of things that the government, and in particular the Chancellor, have done have been incredibly helpful, incredibly supportive, and have really helped to save so many jobs. But now, obviously, it's about getting people both feeling confident to come back out, and that it is a safe place. That obviously, hospitality anyway is very safe in terms of cleanliness and hygiene. We work for very, very exacting standards in terms of the cleanliness and ensuring the safety of our guests and our staff. So pushing that forward a little bit further to apply to all of the COVID measures is not really that complicated for us. We just need to make sure that we've got the necessary information, give the staff the training that they need, have the tools in place to do it. But so we're confident that we're offering a safe environment. We need our customers to feel that that is the case. And as more and more people see that is the case, that it is safe and secure, there's nothing to worry about from that point of view, that will help. And the Eating Out campaign will give them a nudge in that way as well. And obviously from a money point of view, that helps as well. People have been weary to spend money that they do have because they don't know what's coming around the corner. But obviously 50% discount up to £10 per person Monday to Wednesday is a big push to get them, and especially on the quieter days of the week. So it was done very well. So we'd like to think, obviously Happy's going to be a part of that, as are most of the restaurants we work with. So we'd like to think that we'll start seeing some bumper queues Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Obviously everybody's socially distanced, of course, but yeah, it would be great to see some life in.
You've been in the industry a number of years. This must be something obviously brand new for everyone, but have you learned a lot during this period?
Yeah, I mean, more years than I care to remember or share today, but I think definitely a learning curve for everybody in terms of what teams can do and cope with, how resilient staff can be in the face of something pretty terrifying. Not knowing if you're going to have a job next week, not knowing what's going to happen is worrying, and everybody's been really flexible and fair and helpful in terms of, obviously, when we're sitting down and having discussions with them, which are not pleasant discussions about the furlough and then about the future and everything else. Everybody's been really understanding, and I think that's a big thing. Also, what I've seen, which makes me very happy, is the whole hospitality community as a whole coming together. Obviously, there's always been a bit of a community spirit. Everybody talks to each other about things that are going on, but nobody really bands together to ensure success of each other. No, it's obviously you're competitive. You're working with against other restaurants to win clientele. But at the moment, certainly for the last few months, everybody's been working together to ensure that it's a team reopening of the F&B in London, and I'm sure it's the same across the rest of the country. It's not a case of I want to get open first, and I don't want to help anybody else around me to get open because I want to be the first one there. everybody's talking to each other every day. What are you guys doing? Do you need any help? What's going on with this? This is what we're doing in terms of our COVID secure. This is what we're doing with our staff. Do you want me to share that with you? Some companies have produced whole 20-page documents on what they're doing, and normally that would be kept confidential. They just literally put it on a WhatsApp group to 500 other restaurants and shared it with everybody, which is amazing. And it's very much a spirit of we will get through this together, and together we are stronger. And I think that's what will see us through. So,
what would you say is the best advice you're giving your clients right now?
I think be sensible in terms of the forecasts. Obviously, be sensible in terms of what costs you take back on board, but at the same time, definitely focus on the key things that would have made you successful previously are going to make you successful in the future. The best possible experience for the guests. How can we ensure that every guest that does choose to come into our restaurants, we exceed their expectations? Amazing food, amazing service, make them feel comfortable and happy, go that extra mile. And whilst it was important before, it's even more important now as there's less people and as they're feeling a little bit nervous. If we can wow every single guest to the point where they A, are telling their friends, B, are going on social media platforms and review platforms and posting that, and C, are just feeling, wow, it was worth it. I've had to wait 4 months to be back in Happy, and it's even better than I remember. That would make us all very happy. So that's really the goal, is to over deliver in terms of the expectations.
Another project that we're working on together is Bosporus. We're opening that very soon. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, it's a crazy time to be opening a new restaurant in central London, where most people are looking at weighing up their what they do. We've got a new 6,500 square foot central London restaurant opening over in Leicester Square. So Bosporus is a Turkish concept. It's come over from the Middle East. They've got a dozen stores in the Middle East between Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi and Egypt. So this will be the first one in the UK, first one in Europe. So we're probably about a month away from seeing the doors open there. Fit out's nearly done. Recruitment is coming along nicely. I mean, again, one of the not nice but also good side effects of this situation is I've got a load of staff applying for jobs, really good staff, where recruitment pre-COVID was tough. It was challenging to get the right people, but right now I've got a lot of good people coming in. Yeah, obviously we're just really happy that we're able to offer new jobs to people. They're going to be worrying that they're not going to find a new job if they have been made redundant, or they did leave a job before COVID happened, as a lot of people do, because it's quite a transient industry. So we're actually able to create new jobs, and we're going to be hiring around 40 to 50 people in total. So obviously that's nice for everybody there, and it's just a case now of planning it slowly and hoping that we've got the numbers right. Obviously, we've had to reforecast everything in terms of staff numbers, in terms of expected revenues, and even then we just don't know. But we'll get it open towards the end of August, and then we'll push forward, and hopefully September time we'll see some real uplift.
You make Bosporus sound incredible, and I know it's going to be great. Should we go and have a look at it anyway?
Absolutely, let's go have a look.
Pete and I head over to Bosporus, which is a client of ours and is a Turkish restaurant serving incredible authentic Turkish cuisine, and will open this September. Last on the journey, I speak to Jennifer Cochrane, who has a new business called Getahead, and it's all about mental health in hospitality. So I'm delighted to say I'm joined by one of my oldest friends in the industry. Jen, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. We're just talking off camera that we haven't seen each other for about 5 or 6 years.
It's been a while. I mean, we used to see one another regularly in nightclubs and festivals and out and about, but it's been a while. Yeah, it's good to see you.
And things have changed now for the both of us. Why don't you tell me about what you're doing right now?
So I have always, as you know, been working in the music industry, running events and festivals. About 4.5 years ago, that all kind of changed for me for a number of reasons. I fell pregnant with my daughter, and I guess that for me was the initial linchpin of wanting to kind of slow down a little bit and not have the crazy travelling lifestyle anymore. That coupled with I was working at an organisation called AEI Group, a big music company I'd been at for almost 8 years, who were, I guess, for a music company, fairly progressive in employee wellbeing. So my role transitioned around the same time into more of a kind of head of people and culture role. So my responsibility was looking after the team, implementing kind of best practice and new strategies for them. So I mean, that looked like everything from bringing in yoga to the office every week, catering some healthy snacks for them, doing some meditation courses, kind of just being a bit of a, well, I'd always been the mum of the company, but doing it in a more kind of professional capacity. And then in 2017, a friend of ours who himself had hit massive burnout, he was a tech entrepreneur, and he came to us and said, you know, we want to do something, we want to give something back. we were at a point in the company where we were ready to do something a little bit bigger with more of a purpose. And at that point in my career, I was ready to kind of take the leap and do something different. So we launched Getahead. So Getahead initially was coined as the world's first urban 24-hour festival of the head. The concept was initially that we would run a festival in London, which was centred around health, development and fun. So sober rave in the morning, and daytime talks, panels, workshops, some stand-up comedy, massage, all these great well-being kind of initiatives, and then a big party in the evening. And if that wasn't enough to bite off that straight away, we set out on an ambition to set up a record label as well. So we launched Getahead Records and put out an album with one of the chaps who used to be in Pendulum, and we had tracks donated by The Prodigy, Chasing Status, all of the big bass acts in the industry believed in the cause that we were sort of setting out to achieve, and they gave us tracks. So we launched an album. June 2018, launched the first festival, and what was a bit of a crazy experiment was an enormously successful event, and the amount of people that just gravitated towards and wanted to help, and we realised the amount of goodwill there was around mental health. For me personally, I had my own personal reasons for wanting to understand more about mental health and how to help and give back. And you know, having worked in the music industry, I've seen so many people burn out, whether it's through drink or drugs or working long hours or just burning the candle at both ends. So from my point of view, it was time to kind of have that voice and do what I could to help.
When you're talking about it, you're actually beaming, you're glowing, 'cause you're so passionate about what you're doing right now. It's completely different from, we both have been in Clubland and running events for nearly a decade, that me personally anyway, and for you to be doing this different now, this mental health, well-being, it's just fantastic. And do you love it?
I love it. Love it. I've been working in music since I was 17, so that's a very, very long time. And I've always loved it. It's always been my sort of passion and what's driven me. But I think when you get older, your priorities change as well. I think being a mum also changes you, same as you with your daughter. And I think that just seeing the transition in so many people that I've cared with and worked with over the years struggle and not know where to go. So it's like, well, there's loads of great initiatives within the music industry, and there's lots of events and there's lots of conferences, but there was nothing in the marketplace like Getahead, which was accessible. It was non-scary when it came to talking about mental health. So I think a lot of people who may be struggling, first of all, they don't know how to get help, they don't know where to go, and they're scared of putting their hand up, because not so much today, but 3 years ago when we launched this, it still was taboo. So for us, it's about destigmatizing it. It's about making it an accessible conversation and getting people in a room with like-minded people where they feel it's a safe space for them to talk, share, listen, learn, and hopefully get some help. So I mean, the first festival we did was an enormous success, and off the back of that, I think what we realised was that we'd actually kind of inadvertently launched a bit of a workplace wellbeing conference. So that got us thinking about how else we could develop this brand. Started working with some fairly big clients, helping with them with their sort of employee wellbeing strategies, helping them with a lot of kind of toxic work culture and organisational change. Fast forward 2 years, we did the festival again last year, and fortunately it's on hold at the moment this year.
Of course.
But that's given me the opportunity during lockdown to really focus on what the corporate wellbeing side of things looks like. So having left full-time employment last year and setting it up as my own business, I have now launched, in the process of launching officially the corporate wellness business, which should go live next week. It's called Work Inspired.
Amazing.
It follows the same pillars as Getahead: health, development, fun, but also training, because we offer a lot of mental health first aid training for the workplace and beyond. So it's really it's aggregating together all that brilliant talent that we've developed over the last few years. Performance leadership, performance management, well-being, health, coaching. We work with world-class talent in those areas who are the heartbeat of what we do. So I absolutely love it.
What's the biggest challenges that Getahead faces to grow?
Biggest challenges with Getahead at the moment: funding, resource. We are in the process of applying to be a charity for Getahead. It's currently a CIC, but there's a lot of challenges that come with that in terms of getting funding. Getahead fundamentally is an events initiative, So obviously, as we know all too well at the moment, clubs are not opened again. The venue that we host it at, O'Meara, they haven't reopened. So the challenge for us with Getahead is when we can hold our next festival. We're due to launch in Manchester next year. I've also got talks about launching a huge Asia Pacific version of Getahead in KL, Australia, Korea, with a big pool of promoters and people from the wellbeing space over there, and also Berlin. But all of it hinges on what happens with the pandemic. So I've been using this time to create content. We've been hosting some online virtual festivals, really trying to understand what people need during lockdown. And if I was to curate Getahead Festival today from scratch, the programming would probably be 50-60% different to how it would have looked had we launched it prior to lockdown. You know, people's challenges are different, people's needs are different now, whether it's, you know, support with finances, parenting at home. You know, statistically 1 in 4 people in the UK suffer from a mental health condition of some kind. You know, newer statistics will come out soon, and that'll be, you know, far higher after the pandemic because it's hit people so much. So what's important for me is to make sure that I can continue to support people as much as possible through the talent we work with, through research, through supplying resources. As you know, we work closely with Mike and the NTIA team. We're working with them and how we can continue to support that network of nighttime operators. Similarly with AIM, the Association of Independent Music, we work with them on helping them with, you know, resources and mental health support. So it's a difficult time, but I feel, you know, it's a more relevant business than ever to be in now. People are going to need mental health support more than ever coming out of the back of the pandemic, and I'm just really pleased and proud it's something that I work in and I can help people.
It sounds amazing that you're doing this, and I'm sure there's so many people out there that would love to help, because I think if I talk about myself, when you're in that bubble of clubland, you are literally in burnout mode.
Totally.
You know, drinking 3 or 4 times a week, waking up and you're having to have another drink just to get back on and perform. And there must be so many people out there that are doing the same, but it's fantastic what you're doing. Just talking about the nightlife industry, you mentioned the NTIA. I mean, you are still one of the biggest names and characters in the nightlife business.
Thanks.
Without you being in it now, people will come to you talking about your pool of promoters worldwide to create a huge event for your company. What do you think is going to happen to nightlife in the UK, because there's loads of venues shutting down? Government not really giving them much support. What's your personal opinion?
My personal opinion is if the government don't step in and offer a huge financial bailout soon, nightlife as we know it is never going to be the same again. You know, the amount of nightclubs, club nights, festivals, which are teetering on the brink of collapse at the moment. And it's mind-blowing that the government don't see, you know, nightclubs, festivals, you know, touring events like that as part of this arts and culture. You know, they're starting to now. Fantastic initiatives like the NTIA are obviously lobbying and trying to get that support for the nighttime industries, but it blows my mind that they don't see it as an important part of culture. You know, nightclubs, you know, I worked for Ministry of Sound for many, many, many years, and, you know, it's one of the most famous clubs in the world, as is Fabric, and, you know, certainly London has so few nightclubs still operating that if the support doesn't step in soon, these clubs may never bounce back. You know, and for me, I even though I work in mental health now, I work in mental health to support the music industry and the creative industries. So it's of vital importance to me that support happens soon, because it would be life-changing to see these venues never open again, you know, and festivals just never coming back.
Yeah, it's unthinkable, really.
Yeah,
but
totally.
It's realistic right now, isn't it?
Yeah,
with what's
absolutely.
happening?
I mean, we joke. I've got a little girl who's 4, similarly to your daughter, and since she was maybe 2, she's been sort of playing about with the decks in the house, and I joke. I'm like, you know, how can she be a superstar DJ if there's no clubs for her to play in? But it's the reality of the situation. You know, the money is there, but it seems to be too little and too late in a lot of cases. So I hope and pray that something does give very, very soon before it is too late.
Well, we're definitely going to share all your business profile and pages so people can check that out after. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I love that we've just reconnected, and what you're doing now. You know, Posh Cockney will certainly be behind it as well. So anything we can do to help. So thanks for coming on Posh Cockney TV.
Thanks, Liam. Thanks for having me.
See you soon. So thanks for watching Posh Cockney TV. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please subscribe below and hit the bell to to be notified on future shows.